You are live.
Am I?
You are.
Cool. Hey, all. Good morning for folks joining in from the morning hours, and good evening for people who are joining in their evening hours. And thank you for joining Global Azure 2021. For next 1 hour, I'll be running through the Azure Functions. What is Azure Functions? And how to get started with Azure Functions. Basically, building a Python app from a demo perspective, and then we will go through some of the use cases of Azure Functions from a different industry perspective. Um, Given that background, I just want to introduce myself. I am Vivek. Bit of software developer. Been a software developer for around 9 years at IBM, and then was part of DevOps. In terms of startups and service industry, and also had my own company. I was a senior developer advocate at DigitalOcean, and currently I'm working as a developer product marketing manager for Microsoft, from skilling and empowering developers across India. Uh, I just want to go back 15 years when I started my career and how it was before, right? And it was more from an on-premises. We used to take these servers and the storages, and we used to sit in a room. We used to maintain with some temperature, and used to install softwares on top of it, and then we were driving a lot of conversations through that infrastructure, and there those softwares were installed and we were testing it. When the new versions of the software was coming in, we had to reinstall it, and there was a person who was actually managing all these things. So that was the time where everything was on premises. It used to take a lot of time to procure servers and the storages as well, right? Then the infrastructure as a service came into picture, and then we moved everything into infrastructure as a service. I was able to access servers and storages through internet, and then there was security involved in top of that, and we were able to access these servers. But then the platform as a service which actually came in helped us understand the how we can manage the OS and softwares without even worrying about it. The patching, etc., everything was done by the cloud providers like Azure platforms, and the dev tools. Everything was already available for us to take it forward, and that's how the evolution of my career also has been. I started with on premises, and then there is infrastructure as a service, and then PaaS, and now it's serverless. We'll go in deep dive into serverless today, and how these apps can be built, and how you can accelerate your development and your business logics, and go fast to the market using serverless technologies, right? So I just want to see how exactly it all evolved, right? Before cloud, there were so many questions for us to answer. Like how to monitor the service, how to patch it, who's going to patch it, and who gets access to all these servers, and how many servers we need to procure. What happens if network connection goes down, or even a power shutdown, and how we have to manage these servers without any of the support from a cloud provider. And this was really these were days where existed before, right? And the new generation will never agree that these things we were solving in terms of building applications. um, Then came the digital businesses, and that's when infrastructure as a service came in. That's when cloud came in, and a public cloud came into picture, and how these public cloud helped us in terms of patching my servers, or scaling applications, and how we can monitor these applications to solve particular problems with respect to the applications which I am building. So but yet there were so many questions to be answered, and the past layer actually came into a picture when digital transformation happened. We wanted to build fast, deploy fast, and go to market fast. It was like a easy way to package it and deploy your applications, but still there is a couple of things, right? Scaling your applications, and which is the right size of servers you need to procure, and how do I utilize the servers which I have which I have spinned up. I've been using it right or not. So these questions were still existed with the pass layer as well, but it solved many problems. But then came the serverless, which is next generation app building. You're only focusing on business logic, you're focusing on the architecture of your app, and then the code is obviously been given handed over to the Azure platform, and the cloud provider, who is the Azure, takes this code and then packages it and make sure the maintainability of that code, and also the scalability, reliability, accessibility, and even the security performance. Everything is taken care by the Azure platform, and then you are just focusing on your code, and you're just pushing that code to the to the cloud provider. And so what is serverless? So I just want to bring in perspective here. There is obviously server at the back end. It's not like serverless. It's just that it abstracts the servers. That means as a developer, you're only focusing on the code, and you're not really worried about the performance, the availability of your code, or the reliability of your code, or the scalability of your code. It is all taken care at the backend from the Azure platform, and there is a reason why serverless is attached to the word functions. Why? Because in an object oriented programming, right, when you're designing an object oriented application, and there are functions in those applications, right? And these functions are actually invoked, and it does couple of operations, and then just go silent, and without having any trouble, right? And it's just that you're invoking a function, and it does its job, and it gives out the output, and it's destroyed. And the same way, the functions are nothing but and the event driven capabilities. You build it with event driven approach. Each function, or each function within a serverless, it's more of a it's more of building a simple piece of code, and it does a single job, and once it does provides the output, it is just closing it down. So it's how you design the event driven applications, right? And by the way, it's all pay per use. Serverless is always about making sure that you make sure of using your resource. You give resource utilization is obviously taken care, and you are only paying when the function is invoked, which is very important in terms of while building a microservice application, or building a single solution for a couple of things. And we will see use cases where functions can be used in different industries after my demo, so that you can relate to all these things, how it actually saves the cost, and how it actually saves the resources you're using, and how you can do it via event driven approach. And also you're not only worried about all the availability and other things when you're focusing on the code itself. So as I told, From a benefit for purpose, you're only focusing on the code and you're not really worried about the managing the infrastructure. And from an efficiency perspective, obviously there is a lot of cost saving happening, and also there is a development and test environment it provides through a programming model, which is being provided by the Azure Functions. And it's basically how you utilize this function in a programming model to build your application. It's all about how efficiently you can use these technology to build your application in terms of microservices or business logic you're trying to solve. And then in the flexibility as well, you might have three different services or four different services within a microservice, within an application. And these set of services need different programming languages. Maybe one service need a Go programming language, one service might need a Java programming language, or one service might need just the just the C hash, right? So what you can do is you can have different set of developers developing in these services with different set of programming languages. That's the flexibility of using serverless and the functions as a service, right? And let's see, what is functions as a service programming model as well. And there are four different ways you can put this into perspective. One is obviously it should be a single responsibility. That means the code which you're writing should do a single job, and it's not like a couple of jobs that you are including into a one single or responsibility in terms of building your code. You have to make sure that it is one single purpose, and it is obviously short-lived, and it's not like your it keeps on running. It's basically you invoke it, it does its job, and it closes itself. And then there is it's stateless. There is no state. It does not maintain state, by the way. And obviously there is something called as durable functions, which is out of the scope of discussion today. But it's kind of you can go through the documentation of that. And functions are usually stateless, but there are use cases where you need to maintain states. And then it's an event driven and scalable model, right? It has to be a event driven. There has to be a predefined event to invoke these functions, and or the code, and then use you can also replicate this specific code into many instances, just like any containers. Like you can replicate this into many instances. So this is a basic model of functions as a service. This is a basic programming model. So what does Azure Function is? It's basically it provides on top of this functions as a service model, programming model. It provides a couple of things. One is obviously triggers and bindings, and to define when a function is invoked and to what data it connects. And also obviously how you can enhance your development experience. That means you're using a Visual Studio Code, and then you're coding, testing, debugging locally, and you're actually building your applications locally. And then you're also monitoring it after deploying it to the cloud. And you can also monitor via the Visual Studio itself, or even through the Azure portal. How you can even see there are different set of insights you can bring in from application insights. Obviously it provides hosting flexibility. There is flexible way to host these applications. There are a couple of models available. You can go through that as well. um, so the the topic itself is about you focusing on code and not plumbing it. It means that you're not managing the infrastructure. You're focusing on the code, you're pushing the code, and handing over the code to the to the Azure platform. And then rest of the things has been taken care by the Azure platform. And then there is auto scaling of your workloads is taken care automatically. Whenever there is traffic coming in the replication of your code is taken care by the functions as a service programming model, which is the basic of the programming model which I explained, right? It's a basic, like it's an event driven and then it scales. And again, you're not wasting the resources. If you had to do this specific job and want to create a new resource, and whenever it's scaling you need to create different set of VMs, it would have been a really different way to manage the code itself, right? So nothing, no resources is wasted. You're only paying for what you're using, and that's the only model which you can go for when you're building the functions, right? um, from a development perspective, how it can be used. Before I get into the demo, I just want to show you through this diagram approach. There's a trigger, and from the trigger, you're actually trying to trigger into the into the input binding. As I told you, there is triggers and bindings which is provided by the Azure Functions, and these trigger is nothing but either it could be a HTTP trigger, which is an event, HTTP event, or it could be a event through hubs, or it could be a blob storage. Whenever something you push onto the object storage, there's a trigger happening, or whenever you are updating a Cosmos DB, there is a trigger happening. By the way, it also connects to the databases and get this information, and then it also connects to the third party output binding, which is third party Azure services where it can connect to. Say sorry. So we will see a demo of this, how this will work together, and how to build and deploy something, and how to debug locally and then push it to the cloud. Before I get into all these scenarios, I just want to do a demo um, of the Azure Functions, how to get started as well. So let me go to my terminal. Okay, so I've already this is my Visual Studio Code. I've already installed a couple of things, which is obviously Azure extension with functions, and also there is I already connected my cloud to it, my cloud account, Azure account to it, and I can go ahead and create a new project, new function project. And also I've installed something called as Azure Function Core Tools, which is for the CLI, and I will show you what all things you can do from a CLI perspective and a code perspective, right? So um, let us go here and click on this button to create a new project. So I'm going to create a new project, which is in the my folder. I've already created one, and I'm going to use Python. So you can select which programming language. So by the way, whenever you select these programming languages, it provides a template for you. It provides a new template. I'll show you how. Whenever I create a Python, there is a template created by the functions programming model, the Azure function programming model. Let me select Python, and it also asks which interpreter, Python 3. I'm going to do a HTTP trigger. You can see here there are quite a bit of trigger it provides. So what does trigger mean is whenever there is a HTTP request coming, this function gets triggered. That is the event which we are talking about. And when a time trigger is used, it is more of a timing, and you actually define the timing. And there is Azure blob storages, which is Cosmos DB. Whenever there is an event happening in the blob storage, that is whenever data is coming into blob storage, there is a trigger happening. Then Cosmos DB updates. Durable functions is, again, it's a stateful functions, which which you can design to manage the states. And by the way, and also there is grid, hub, and storage triggers, queue triggers, topic triggers. So there's many things which are coming in, right? So let me select the HTTP trigger to from the demo purpose, and then we will name this as global Azure 001, right? And I'm just naming the function, and I'm just enabling it to anonymous. So it's just an authorization, a function to function admin authorization, or anyone can access this function. For the demo purpose, I'm taking the anonymous. It will create a new project in my serverless space. I mean, no, as of now. So let me go back. This is the code for the new one, but I'll come back to the code later. Let me go to the terminal, and this is my this is my terminal with where I've created the project. So you can see this. This is the global Azure 001 is the is the function, and there is local setting.json. Here is the function template. So requirement.txt is very specific to Python. So whenever you do a Java or whenever you do a Go, all the specific to that programming language, a template is created for you. So that is a that is a flexibility, and the developer experience. It provides. Azure Functions provide, and there is already a couple of things already available there. You can see Azure Function as already installed as a thing. Okay, so let me go back to GB, and show you this. There's a init Python, and there's JSON sample data if you want to add some data and other things, and a couple of settings is available on the on these services. So let me go back. Go back to the code which I was showing. So this is a simple code which is already been created as a template for the demo purpose, and you can see we can rename or add some code here saying HTTP trigger function executed, um, global Azure event. So I'm going to save this, and we have code saved. So I'm saving this code, and then I'm going back to my my where or my terminal where the project is, and here I'm going to show you how to use function code tools, which is the CLI specification CLI tool. Just type fun, and I've already installed, so I just want to show you a couple of things which you can do. So basically these are commands which are available for on code tools, Azure Function code tools. You can keep the latest version is here, and you obviously you can install and play around with it. And there are a couple of things which you can work around. You can see there are many things you can add to it, and there's templates and different templates also you can add to it. um, so let me go back, and we did make some code edits. So I just want to run function start locally, and I want to start the function which I did, the code which is there. I want to run it locally. It is not on cloud yet. I just want to make sure it is running locally, and then we can see how exactly it works. So function start, I did, and this code is, this is the place where function is running, and I can copy this and go back to my terminal, go back to my browser, and so you can see my function is running locally. You can see this locally, and it is specifically running local. And I'll just say name is equal to Vivek, and you can see the code which we did. It's kind of um, available here. If you go and type this name is equal to Vivek, you can see, global Azure event is being added to it. So this is local. You can build on it and see what's happening, and go back to the Visual Studio. Sorry, go back to your terminal and you can see what are the things which is happening there. If there is some issues, it will all start throwing up here, and you can actually debug it. And I'm not stopped here, so it is already running, so I don't need to change any code. Even if I change any code, it will get locally updated. So nothing to restart anything. So now I'll go back to my Visual Studio, and here the now the function is exactly in the local project. It is available here. I want to push this specific code to the cloud, and hand it over to the Azure to take care of this code from all types of perspective, like the scaling of that application and running it, making sure it is available, etc. So here is a button where you can deploy to the function app, and you can just click on this specific button and create a new function app and call it as obviously GB demo, and I need to select the runtime. It's okay to select the latest one, and then you select your region, whichever region you want to deploy this function app. So I'm selecting Central US. um, and you can see that at the bottom, the it is getting deployed as of now. It is creating a storage account, it is deploying the code to the cloud, and you'll be able to see that on the cloud as well from the Azure portal. I'll show you how exactly it will look after deploying. um, it takes 2 minutes. It's getting deployed, it's getting created. Let's wait for 2 minutes. One more step to go. Yep. So it is deployed. It will show up here. Just give me a minute. Has it created here? Yes, the storage account, the function is being deployed. Just give me a minute to function also to come up. You can also see the output. There is output window you can actually see, and you can see a couple of things getting updated. It is packaging it and deploying it. Uh, it is a zip extract, and it is deploying it to Linux platform. So it is uh, packaging it. As you can see, there's so many messages. You can read through it. Okay, upload settings as well. You can upload settings, local settings also you can upload, and then it's all here. So you can see this is the link to access your um, access the locally developed code, and you can actually copy this, and you can see there's function app is already up here, all resources on the dashboard of Azure, and you can see function app is deployed with couple of things. Linux plan, dynamic plan is being created, and storage accounts being created, and you can actually see this function app available. Just click on that, and here is the URL for that function app to access your function app. It's kind of an API as of now, right? So there are a couple of things you can do. There is, keys, there's deployments, lot configurations, settings and other things to change your app service plan as well, how you can build it. So let us go back to this particular link where you can actually see the code which was deployed locally, which was developed locally, and we want to see it, in a. So let me show you the code which we built. Name is equal to Vivek. So here it is. The code is here. The code is on the cloud. So the way we did was we just went ahead, created a project space, and then we just created a code. And then what we did was we just deployed that code uh, to the cloud. We did locally test it out and other things, and just deployed it to the cloud. And this is how you can get to market fast. And you can obviously integrate that with various set of things, and we will see the use cases and other things. But this is how you can actually build something on your laptop, locally, and then go back and push it to the cloud, just as simple as it is, like through Visual Studio. But we will see how exactly the code changes happen as well. Let us go back here again to my Visual Studio, and we will say we'll remove all this. Thanks for attending Global Azure event. So this is a local change which I did. I didn't run the function start again. It's because it was already started, it is already running, so it is dynamically taking the changes. So we'll go back to my browser, and then just refresh this. You can see there is a change in the change in the whole code which I did. It's pretty easy, right? It's you're changing, you're developing, you're fast developing it, and you can actually see the code is changing every time we do the development, right? um, the similar fashion, we'll go back and redeploy this code to the um to the cloud where we made these changes, and I'm going to select the one which already there. I'm not creating a new function now. I'm going to select that one, which was created, and redeploy the code. And it should be deployed pretty fast because most of the things is already there, and it should go, um, not take that much time when the time it took for the first time. Let's wait for some time though. Due to network issues, it might. So I'm just redeploying this code to um, to the cloud, where whatever changes I made. So this is how development works. This is how we are the serverless applications can be built. You're just going and designing something. It's on local, and you're pushing it directly to the directly uh, to the production. It took very less time as well, right? So it's pretty easy, and this is the experience it gives you. And it does only simple job, so you can have a number of functions built, and build a microservice around it, and then use it, right? So now it is being deployed. Let me go back to my browser where I had the global Azure demo which was on cloud. I just refreshed this again, and you can see um, it is being deployed. So it's so fast, right? And that's the most interesting part of the functions, and that's the reason why I'm very passionate about serverless, and how you can actually design applications pretty fast with this. um, so this is a simple demo where what we did was we did create a local project. We just took the code from there, and then we tested it locally, and then it was ready for production. We just pushed it for production, and it was available for the use already, right? And then obviously you kept changing the code, and it was just going to the production whenever there was a change happening. So you can also see that there is a couple of things which is available from application perspective, right? There is application insight, which I told you. The monitoring is one of the features, and you can actually monitor these applications through application settings. And also there is logs which you can drive. There is a deployment model as well, where you can connect it to the GitHub directly. From a code perspective, you can push this code to GitHub whenever there is a code change happening, and you can trigger through GitHub through CI/CD strategy perspective as well. So everything is available on the Visual Studio. That's the beauty for the developers. Developers just go there and write the code and use all these kind of functionalities, and the code is available for the end user within no time, right? So um, that's the interesting part of it. So let me go back to my slides, where we'll discuss about the different industry use cases, how you can use these functions from an industry perspective, and how you can what are the ways you can build it, so that you can use that technology, or use that examples in your applications, in fact. So let us go back there. Yeah. So I'm back onto my slides. um, so these are some 7 to 8 scenarios in different industries. From a web application backend perspective, say for example, you have an online order going through, right? And you do a online order, it goes into a service queue. You are using service bus trigger. Whenever there is a new order coming in, you are taking that information through a function and then pushing it to customers. You don't really need an infrastructure. You don't really need to create a VM to run this kind of an application where it is constantly listening to something and then running it itself, right? There is a easier way to do it. Just create a function to do it, and you will be able to get this data. And from a mobile application backend perspective, say for example, you're gone out to have lunch with colleagues, and you request money from each one of them through mobile app. There is a trigger which is happening, and then there is data getting stored, and Cosmos DB, who has to pay how much, everything is getting stored. And from there, there is one more trigger which is happening from a notification hub perspective, through a Cosmos DB trigger. You can see that, right? There is a Cosmos DB, there's an input coming into the Cosmos DB, and then there is a function trigger which is happening through a Cosmos DB, and then there is a notification hub which we have. There is notification is getting served. So all these functions are integrating with different Azure services through different set of events, and you can see that through these examples, right? And IoT industries, and our IoT industry is having, obviously it produces a lot of data, and you need to understand if there is machinery or other things, it's having an issue, that has to be triggered. And when it's not just about triggering, there is an issue within the supply chain or the machines which are running in the factory. It's not just about that, but it's also using different logic apps, which is Azure logic apps integrations, to even invoke a Zendesk kind of an application, and creating a request for repairing that specific machine which is getting delayed, right? And getting anomalies, right? So this is how you can actually use this these applications, these functions, to run these things. You don't really have to create an infrastructure for that. Instead, you just, you're triggering whenever there is an event happening. You don't really have to keep running it. It gets invoked only when there is some event is happening. So, and again, conversational bots, you can build it if you have a couple of some vacations you're going in, and there is a, you are trying to see what is how to get some options, right? You can definitely use different set of triggers to run these information through for your consumers or customers, right? So and again, healthcare industry, running through your PDFs function, you're taking extracting the data and storing it. Again, these things can be done through functions. You really don't need an infrastructure at the back, like creating VMs and other things. And also scaling purpose, right? If you have connected all the hospitals and you're trying to get patients record, how will you scale this? It's really tough. So if we are using a function, it's easier to scale whenever there is a record coming in. And again, real-time streaming, building your analytic dashboards through various triggers. It's the Cosmos DB triggers, and there's HTTP triggers and other triggers which are there. You can actually see that. And there is finance industry as well. The number of times you send information to people, how you don't want to send duplicate information to people. All these things can be done through these functions. And obviously integrations with different set of services can be done through these applications, and I mean through these functions via the integrations with proxies, using proxies. That's how you can build your services. So while obviously, I just want to pause here and take some questions, if there are any questions, in terms of understanding of complete serverless, building your first application and running through it. Should I go to any questions coming in? Hello.
Yes, there is a question on the screen.
On the screen. Oh, okay. This one, right? Oh, yeah. So, Azure Data Factory is it's basically managing the data. It's kind of, if you have a number of data, it's kind of not the SQL data. It's kind of, you're managing data, you're keeping it to archive and logs and other things which you want to keep it. That is the where you are using the Azure Data Factory. Any more questions coming in? Okay. This so basically, I just want to show one more thing as well. This is where, in Visual Studio, right? So the proxies. This is what I talked about in my slide, where how you can connect to different set of services. So basically, there are different third party services which you might have, or you might have or different APIs which you have built. You can also build proxies towards that. And obviously connecting to Git we talked about, and there are logs which you can read through. You can actually see there are logs which are available. Connect to logs, you can just click on that, and it will connect to the logs which is out there. um, so this is the live metrics for the for the functions which we build. So this is the monitoring system which came in from the Visual Studio, the applications which we have built, and it is available here, and it is directly connected. So you can actually see a couple of things available. So if you click on view logs, you can see data here, and you can actually choose from what you're looking at, from performance to number of requests, and other things, and you can run these set of things, and you can see results and other stuff. So this is how you can see live metrics. So when you go back to the functions as well, um, you can see the logs here, which which is again you can use it for debugging purposes. And you can see various things like operational performance and exceptions which is happening, and various other things which is being run here. So you can easily see a couple of activities which is failing and other stuff. So um, you can also stream the logs, in fact, if through the portal itself, you can let me go back and show you. So it is connecting to application insight, and you can see. So whenever I keep hitting that, it starts showing me all these data. So what is the worker status, what is happening here, and it is running, what is the version and everything. So it's pretty easy, and in the code itself you can actually enable warnings, informations, and errors. So this is how you can actually build the code for making sure that you have right set of information available for you from a log stream purpose. So you can manage the stream itself. And obviously you can change the app service plan as well. There is a difference between the dynamic plan and the rest of the other plan, dedicated plans and other stuff. So you can also go through that. And let me show you this. So there are basic metrics available for you when you open the overview as well. So you can take a look at that as well. So and by the way, functions supports different programming languages. Azure Functions, it supports the C hash, Go, Java, JavaScript, Python. And so basically when you're building something new, so let me show that as well. Say create a new project, maybe under this, we'll go ahead and create a Java project, and you can see the preview from Java 11 or Java 8. You can actually choose Java 8. It is asking to name the function com.function.vs. um, Provide an artifact ID. I'll say serverless itself, and provide a version for your project. I'll say 1.1 snapshot, and app name, all the default ones I've taken care. So um, Let's see the project itself. So it will take 2 minutes to create a new project. Let me go back to this terminal and stop this running. You can easily stop this one, and in fact we can remove is getting created here. Oops, I created within this itself, so let me select. Let's wait for this one to come in. So it's taking a bit of time to create a new project. I'm just waiting for it to get created, just to show you how exactly the structure would look like. Maybe because I did it and it's taking some time. No reason, probably network. Let's wait for 2 minutes.
Yep,
Though.
let's take a couple questions in the meantime.
Oh yeah,
All right. Yep.
there's
They're going to be at the bottom of your screen.
yep. Questions. I didn't get the question. Create serverless, use Azure. Yes, I mean it's Azure. Serverless is a concept, and Azure, it's kind of a, the serverless, Azure function is a programming model which I talked about, and serverless is just a concept. So that's what I hope that is what you're asking for. Any more questions? I know we have some 4 or 5 minutes. So I'm just, we can definitely discuss any questions you have from microservices, building an applications with serverless using microservices, or some couple of characteristics which you're looking at. Definitely let me know. I'll be able to help you there. Meanwhile, let's see whether it got created. No, it is not getting some issue with that. Any more questions? We have. Oh, yeah. So that's the whole idea. Um, Serverless will be, it's just a concept, um, to to build on top of the that from a compute concept. And then there is, obviously, Azure Functions uses that, through that concept itself. As I told you, functions as a service model has its own set of things, which I showed you in my PPT as well. Um, there was a specific PPT on that, right? So functions as a service programming model, these are the four things which it will take care. um, on top of this is how the Azure function is built, where with a lot of, providing a lot of triggers for you and binding with data, which I showed you. And then obviously providing the enhanced developer experience in terms of um, coding and testing locally and executing it. So all these things are extra add-ons to the already existing models, which is the programming model, which is already available. It's kind of standard thing. Any more questions we have? Any more, or we can. Okay, so thank you for joining. I think we can close for the day. Obviously, there are more sessions which are happening after this, so please do tune in.